We are back with part two to finish up chapter 11 here. And the last time we talked, or the last part of the last module, we had talked about SPIN and needs discovery. I had found it helpful when I was a young sales representative to use a worksheet to actually write down questions that will prompt me as we go through the needs discovery process or as we go through spin selling. Here's some examples of the questions. I'm not saying use these particular questions. Depending on the industry, depending on the prospect that you're calling on. But I found it very helpful to actually script some questions because that way you're not as nervous and you can get to the heart of the matter. These questions will also prompt you to ask other questions, and it'll keep your thought process focused on the S, the P, the I, and the N. So now as you're doing your needs discovery, you also have to make sure that you're active listening. I've seen a lot of young sales representatives ask questions and not listen to the answer because they're wondering about what the next question that they should ask. And that's really, really bad. Active listening, unless you're listening to the prospect, unless you're listening to the customer, you have no idea what product or service to fit to their customer needs. So you have to listen closely and acknowledge each response and then ask follow-up questions to those responses. Active listening is sending back to the prospect the idea that you are listening and that you are understanding. So engaging in active listening means you're listening, you're looking at the prospect, you're nodding your head, you're agreeing, you're asking follow-up questions. It can be learned by really what we do in everyday life. As we are a salesperson, we need to practice these skills not only when we're selling, but in our everyday life. Remember the other day I told you that your homework for the next 6 weeks was to cut out the ums, the ahs, the likes, or what I would call the filler. It's the same thing with active listening. Over the next 6 weeks, as you're taking these courses, I want you to concentrate on active listening skills, focusing your full attention, paraphrasing the customer's meanings or whoever you're talking to. Obviously, it won't be a customer because we're not in a selling situation right now. But paraphrasing the person that you're listening to, meaning taking notes if it has to, and then asking follow-up questions. Active listening is absolutely key to understanding the prospect's needs and then fitting a solution, a product or a service to those needs. So you'll see here the involvement. As we move through the 6-step selling process, again, I'm going to say it again because it's important. Approach, needs selling, presentation, handling objection, closing the sale, and servicing the sale. The time for the salesperson is going to get greater. So in the approach, you're listening to you're trying to establish a rapport, so you're doing mostly listening, asking a few questions and listening. In needs discovery, the prospect should be talking most of the time. And then as you present, you're talking more. As you're handling objectives, you're talking more. And as you're closing the sale, you're talking more. But at the needs discovery, the prospect should be doing all the talking. That is also the longest portion of the selling process. So you need to spend a lot of time on needs discovery and in your active listening because you shouldn't be talking much. The prospect should be talking most of the time. So creating and building relationships, again, what you should do is be reviewing the consultative sales model that we talk about, the 6-step model, reviewing the needs discovery model, the spin selling model, pre-planning your questions, preparing your questions, and using your time wisely. That is the pre-planning stage. And then establishing relationships, asking appropriate questions, acknowledging and summarizing the customer's needs is all about the portion when you're in front of the customer. So the long and the short here is each sales call that you make should take a lot of pre-planning so that you're going to know what you're going to do during that sales call. So some review questions that you need to be thinking about. The benefits of the consultative sales, the 4-part need satisfaction model, spin selling, the questions that we're using, the importance of active listening, and then also the importance of fitting a solution to match those customers' needs. With that being said, we are going to role play this a lot when we get together on Monday night. And until then, I will talk to you on Monday.